Today, Kurdish troops seized Kirkuk, home of one of the biggest oil fields in the world. This volatile patchwork nation the U.S. invaded and then stitched back together with the sweat and lives of thousands of American troops is rapidly coming undone.
Richard Engel, NBC's chief foreign correspondent, followed that dispatch today from northern Iraq. Richard now joins us live. Richard, thanks for being with us. Give us a sense of what you are seeing and where you think this is heading.
Well, I think we're seeing state collapse, and where this is heading is some sort of civil war. We are seeing now Kurdistan, the Kurdish region where I am right now, expanding. We are seeing the western Iraq, the Sunni, angry, disgruntled Iraq on the march, marching toward Baghdad. And we are seeing the Shiite section, which still holds the government, preparing for battle. Today in Baghdad, mosques, Shiite mosques, were calling through the loudspeakers on top of the mosque for people to and collect weapons. Earlier you showed the government holding these open recruiting sessions. Already there has been some violence in Baghdad. I think it's going to get a lot worse. The question is this going to be a long, horrible civil war, or is it going to be some sort of short civil war that then leads to a coup or some sort of military takeover, as has been the case in Syria, might be the case in Libya in the future? It seems to be the emerging pattern in the Middle East. But if this continues the way it is, we're going to a civil war. It might be short, it might be long, but that seems to where things are going.
Richard, one of the things that we saw during the long U.S. war in Iraq was that even as the nation of Iraq could be divided roughly into Sunni and Shia and Kurdish areas, Baghdad was enough of a mix that Baghdad was always a question. It was neighborhood by neighborhood, and the segregation among those neighborhoods changed during the course of the U.S. presence there. Whether or not those Sunni militants can mount an all-on assault against Baghdad the way they're threatening, is it likely to become a street-by-street fight in that huge city, the way that we saw during the worst of the earlier civil war?
Actually, it would be a lot easier today because of the last 10 years. Initially, Baghdad was very much a mixed city, and you had a street within a Sunni community that would have Shiite families and Christian families, and there were little pockets. Over the years, the pockets have changed, and you have the eastern part of Baghdad that is pretty much all Shiite right now, and the western side of the city, and divided by the Tigris River, which is pretty much all Sunni. They have self-segregated after so many years of violence. So if the Sunnis came in, and they came in from the west, which is the way that they are heading, they have already established some sort of beachheads in Abu Ghraib, it would be considerably easier than it would have been, say, 10 years ago.
Richard, obviously there's no significant U.S. troop presence in Iraq anymore, in any part of Iraq. But in terms of the American presence more broadly, are there a lot of American civilians, American contractors, other people that are involved in some ongoing way with sort of nation-building efforts there that are now potentially thinking about getting out?
Security companies have already been advising contractors to get out and get out now, to evacuate immediately. And some mandatory evacuations have begun from contractors at Balad Air Base. That evacuation is going to be continuing tomorrow as well. We don't know exactly how many contractors and diplomats, American contractors and diplomats, there are here. We've contacted USAID, the State Department, the White House, and for security reasons, they don't want to put a number. It is several thousand. It is probably somewhere between 2,000 and 4,000. But I think they are, frankly, at risk. I don't think Baghdad is going to be a safe place to operate in the coming days. You talked about the airlift out of the embassy in Vietnam. The U.S. embassy in Baghdad is an enormous fortress. It is well secured. But by being so enormous, it also makes it easier to penetrate. It takes a lot more force to control an embassy that is bigger than the Vatican City. Maybe it was overreach in building that giant complex, but there are quite a few Americans still left in this country.
Richard Engel, NBC News chief foreign correspondent, joining us live at an ungodly hour from northern Iraq. Richard, thank you so much. I really appreciate it, man. Be safe. All right, we've got lots to come, including American Southerners with giant beards doing something weird with an American governor. And that story is coming up on tape.